initially there was a lot of emphasis on collaboration between different groups and silos. I think what happened over the years is there was a kind of a Conway's law in a way that we went away from the two teams, let's say the dev and the ops battling, to multiple feature teams all of a sudden battling with some kind of ops, and that became like a platform or something. So that was more on platform engineering and kind of collaboration across. And there's a piece of infrastructure that you need to provide. There's enablement you do on top of that, and then there's some governance that you do. I think, in my simplistic view, SRE is something that has taken the Google internal practices in a way that they describe this on how do you actually have a practical application of collaboration? How do you define your error budgets? How do you deal kind of like with a certain flow? So I always say that SRE is a sub-implementation from a sort of DevOps collaboration that has its pros and its cons, and it can apply to you or it cannot apply to you. There's often like A versus B. It's irrelevant. It's essentially the same, but it's a bunch of practices that have been battle tested, that our people are able to read about, and that is more standardized. Whereas opposed to maybe in DevOps in general, it's like, okay, you have to monitor. There's things that you need to do. Now, the whole thing, you build it, you run it, was an AWS thing that they kind of came up with. I have a few gripes on this in a way that if this is a completely autonomous thing, I've seen it just multiple times where if you let this go freely, yes, you'll end up with like 7, 10, 25 teams doing their own, but you also hit issues with that model. Yes, there's a certain degree of freedom, but you want to standardize pieces, and that, like, again, that standardization moves somewhere into the platform. And you can't just have any tool. You can't just have any programming language. That's not cost effective. And that's the kind of governance that I think a platform team, because they're the only ones seeing it across feature teams, that can help kind of standardize the offering in a certain way. Now, you don't have to standardize on a platform team. Again, you can do it completely separate, but in most cases, in an organization, there is a need for a governance and an enablement that kind of makes sense.